You see in the fiat currency, central banking system, their currency and credit out of thin air. They're nothing. It's not commodity money like gold and silver. So they need to enslave you so that you keep paying tax. And what does that do? Well, that creates demand for their fiat currency, because if you run a small business, a medium-sized business, if you're an employee, you need to put this currency aside to pay taxes, and that's what keeps the system going. Thursday, August 7th, 2025, Maneco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Well, we're going to focus on the UK today. There's a lot of talk about the public finances in this country. There's an article yesterday which we'll touch upon in the Daily Telegraph. It says Reeves facing £50 billion black hole as tax pressure mounts. And yeah, we're going to look at the real reason, in my opinion, for what's going on in the UK. Of course, I've been warning you guys for many years about the not only the UK debt time bomb, but also UK economic collapse. I've been warning about the collapse since 2021. I thought it was inevitable. A lot of people complain, why isn't it coming? Well, it's here now, and hopefully you're prepared for it as well. Hopefully you've put away a little bit of real money, i.e. gold and silver, physical gold and silver aside, to tide you over this coming crisis. It's not the end of the world, and as the old saying goes, where there's a crisis, there's also opportunity. But one thing I want to do today regarding this fiscal crisis and really economic, social, political crisis is talk about who our real enemy is. And before I do, though, just wanted to give a shout out to my precious metals dealer affiliates here in the UK. It's Gold Investments, family-run business for almost 45 years. And all the details of how to get in touch with them are below in the description. In the US, I'm affiliated with Andy Scheckman at Miles Franklin, also a family business that's been going on since, I think, 1989. So if you're looking to increase your holdings, or you're looking to buy gold and silver for the first time, yeah, get in touch with them and tell them that I sent you there. Anyway, we need to know who our enemies are. Yes, it's really important. It was the Chinese philosopher Sun Tzu who said about knowing your enemy, and I quote, "If you know the enemy and you know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles." And I'm afraid, unfortunately, that people never learn, and they listen to the establishment, and the establishment keeps basically screwing them over and over. I'm sorry for my French, but that's usually what happens. And there's going to be a lot of political blame game going on here on who's to blame for the economic conditions that this country is under. But I think it doesn't really matter what party is in power. The taxpayer, the general public, is always going to be the one that's going to be targeted. And you might be surprised for me to say that the wealthy are not the problem. Wealthy people don't create economic problems. Governments and central banks and the City of London, the bankers, they're the ones who create economic problems. And you might say, well, there are a lot of wealthy bankers. Yes, but their wealth has been really accumulated via parasitical means because of the system that we have. The central banking, which is a monopoly system, central banking and fiat currency system. The fiat currency system, of course, is a totally immoral, nefarious monetary system. It's not even a monetary system. It's a debt-based system, which allows the central banks, the people next to the spigot of the central bank, to basically create currency and credit out of thin air as if they were God. And the bankers, of course, benefit from that. The City of London benefits from that. In the US, it's Wall Street, of course. In Paris or in France, it's the Paris banking community. In Germany, it's Frankfurt, and so on and so forth. So it was interesting because I was reading this article in the Telegraph, and I saw from social media there's a lot of talk about this. It's a huge story here in the UK because the current Labour government, they've been in power since July last year. They've been punishing employers, they've been punishing farmers, they've been punishing the wealthy, the non-doms, and anyone that has enough wealth to leave this country and go somewhere else to protect their wealth, they're leaving. But for those of us who really can't really gamble on that, and those of us who are at a particular juncture in our lives, it's really difficult to move. But as I said, there's still going to be opportunities. But this story says Reeves facing 50 billion black hole as tax pressure mounts. Am I surprised about this? No. And it's going to get worse, people, because they're doing all the wrong things. Because unfortunately, in a democracy, you do what your voters want, or else you're going to be voted out. And the base of their voting block is the public sector, people who work for the government, people, in the bureaucracy, right? And they need to keep the government big in the bureaucracy, the public sector, the unions, which is a shame because unions should learn about sound money. But anyway, so instead of cutting the size of government, cutting regulation, cutting taxes, and incentivizing the private sector, which is the only sector really that creates wealth and growth in the economy. And anyway, this thing about growth is a Keynesian thing, because Keynesians, they always resort to more and more debt, of course, in the fiat currency system, and they want they want the economy to grow, or else their scheme collapses. So what I'm trying to say here, in a free market, sound money economy with small government, who cares about growth, right? The economy will grow naturally. But these people are worried because there is a debt problem as well. We're up to here in debt, and I'm sure they've hidden a lot of the debt. It's not just 100% of GDP, as they tell you. It's a lot more. So that's why this is not going to work. And I said taxing the wealthy is going to make it even worse, because they're going to leave. It's going to be like what they used to say in the 70s. It was a brain drain. A lot of the wealthy, successful people create businesses, sometimes small business, medium-sized businesses. And a lot of these medium and small-sized businesses, they are the engine of the economy. They're the ones that create jobs. But that's all going out the window, unfortunately. So I spoke about knowing your enemy. So the real culprit behind this, in my opinion, and this is going into a macro level, or if you want to call it from 30,000 feet up, bird's eye view, or airplanes view. So it's not really, oh, it's because of the immigrants or because of this and that, Brexit. No, this is the whole system. And it goes back to the creation of the Bank of England in 1694. It gave a small group of bankers that came from Amsterdam, actually, the power to create currency and credit out of thin air, something none of us mortals are allowed to do. And I've spoken about this many times, of course. This is one of the purposes of my channel, to warn people about central banking. It's a monopoly. Why do we need a monopoly to run the credit? Well, the reason they did it is to make sure that the state or the monarch at the time didn't indebt itself, that it passed on the debt from his or hers adventures, like wars and a lot of government spending, to the public in the form of the national debt. And that's what the central banking fiat currency system has created. It's created the national debt. Even that, we're told, is a good thing. Of course, it's not. But the problem with this system is that, as Lord Rothschild said in the 19th century, give me control of a country's currency or money, and I care not who makes the rules. Well, they're in control of the money, right? The central bankers, the politicians are in bed with them, and they control everything, not just the money, but they control the media, they control academia, they control the schools, they control culture. It's really something nefarious. The only reason people are starting to look into this is, fortunately, because of platforms like YouTube. And with YouTube, of course, you still need to be careful how you bring this message across, and the internet in general, of course. But here in this article, just a headline, and the Telegraph is supposedly a conservative newspaper, but just the headline tells you what they're pushing. It says, Reeves facing 50 billion black hole as tax pressure mounts. Well, why can't they say as cutting the size of government pressure amounts, right? Well, it's because of the people in charge. You see, in the fiat currency central banking system, their currency and credit out of thin air. They're nothing. It's not commodity money like gold and silver. So they need to enslave you so that you keep paying tax. And what does that do? Well, that creates demand for their fiat currency, because if you run a small business, a medium-sized business, if you're an employee, you need to put this currency aside to pay taxes, and that's what keeps the system going, the taxes. So who's pushing this? Well, it's the National Institute of Economic and Social Research, NIESR. And I'll just quickly read here what it says. I'm not going to go through the whole article. My point here is to try to tell you who the enemy is. It says Rachel Reeves must raise taxes immediately to plug a fresh 50 billion hole in the public finances. According to one of Britain's most respected, there you go, most respected economics organizations. Well, why aren't they asking me? And I'm not being, I'm not trying to be full of myself, but I've been right about what's going on, and I've been right about what would happen. Maybe, why aren't they asking me? Well, because I would tell them the truth, and they don't want that, of course. It says slowing economic growth, a weak jobs market, and the cost of labor's about turn on welfare spending have combined to plunge government finances deeper into the red. The National Institute of Economic and Social Research warned. The chancellor is now on course to miss her borrowing targets by 41.2 billion, the think tank predicted. If she wants to restore the 9.9 billion of headroom maintained since last year's budget, Ms. Reeves must therefore raise taxes or cut spending by 51.1 billion. So I had a look at this National Institute of Economic and Social Research, looked at it on Wikipedia, and right off the bat, it says the history, right? The NIESR was established in 1938 with funding from, drum roll, the Rockefeller Foundation. Well, they're behind the creation of the Federal Reserve. They are the Rothschilds' American arm, of course, and the Pilgrim Trust. Well, Charles Savoy, who does a lot of research about silver, he's talked a lot about this, the Pilgrim Society, the Pilgrim Trust. They're a group of elite UK and US people who are part of all this, part of the central banks, part of manipulating silver, the silver price. So you can see that the Rockefellers, the central banking cabal, they're in charge of this. And if you look at the people who are in charge now, the president of this institute is Sir Paul Tucker, former deputy governor of the Bank of England. So there you go. A guy who worked for the Bank of England, he's not going to come out and say, we need to abolish the Bank of England, we need to abolish fiat currency, we need to trim the size of government, we need to bring back sound money, would he? He's going to say, go after the plebs and tax them to death, or go after the wealthy as well. Most wealthy people are not in the city of London, right? So yeah, you go after the wealthy, you go after the wealth of the nation, and that's what they're going to go for, unfortunately. I'm not here to tell you exactly what taxes or rates they're going to come up with, but one way to try to hide, so to speak, your wealth from this is to have your wealth outside the financial system as real things, as chattel, for example, and physical gold and silver coins of the realm in the UK, like sovereigns in Britannia. They're considered legal tender, so there's no capital gains tax on it. Yes, that could change, but as of now, there isn't. And it's not in the financial system. It's difficult for them to track. So that's what's going on. And the enemy are not the wealthy. The enemy are at Threadneedle Street and Downing Street, really. And unfortunately, one of the things the central banking mandrake mechanism or cabal system does is that it pushes democracy, right? It pushes political parties so that the left and right are always at each other and blaming each other for the economic and social woes, while not really pointing the spotlight at the central bank, which is the institution that is allowed to create currency and credit out of thin air and has the power to tax you to keep that currency strong. And therein lies the problem. And I think maybe Liz Truss learned the hard way about this, and now she's trying to expose the Bank of England. So until the Bank of England is, the charter, it was created by Royal Charter. Until that Royal Charter is revoked or abolished, I'm not sure how it's called, things are not going to change, because the bankers and the politicians are going to be after your wealth. So sometimes I might sound a little bit pessimistic, but no, I think I just try to focus on the truth. And sometimes the truth hurts, because it destroys a lot of people's illusions about the system. And I think the main illusion here is that governments are there to help you, but they're not. So let's quickly look at the markets this morning. There is quite a bit going on here with the tariff war. The FT is reporting here, Trump's new tariff regime deepens global trade war. U.S. President's latest reciprocal levies hit many countries that had struck deals with Washington. I saw U.S. increased tariffs on India. So I think the world trade, economic, financial situation is getting very tumultuous. And it's probably going to start showing more in the markets. So right now it's 10 to 8 a.m. London time. We've got gold actually up this morning about 0.5% at 33.85. That's a spot price. High's been 86 and the low 65. Silver is up about 0.2%. Silver's kind of slowed down. It hasn't really gone back down, but it hasn't really picked up that much steam. We need to break through that 40 level. It could happen anytime though. So silver is up 26 cents at 38.08. The Dow futures is virtually unchanged, up slightly, like 30 points. The NASDAQ 100 future is up 0.25%, and so is the S&P. In terms of the currencies, I saw the dollar dropped a little bit as per the dollar index yesterday. And today, the dollars continue to drift a little lower here. Yeah, we need to keep an eye on this trend line in the dollar index. Right now, it's holding it. In terms of other markets, I see WTI crude has come off quite a bit. It was around 69 early in the week. Right now, it's at 64.20, up 0.5%. High-grade copper is still back below that 5 level. It's now at 446, up about 1/8%. And let's quickly have a look at the U.S. Treasury market. The 10-year yield, that's come off of late. So has the 30-year, but they're pretty steady this morning. 423 for the 10-year and 483 for the 30-year. So with that, I'm going to wish you all a very good day. Take care. Bye.